In the last episode, we explored the heart and personal life of Michael Chernow as a man, husband, and father. And in this episode, we're shifting gears to talk about his success as an entrepreneur, visionary, and business builder. Michael has created, scaled, and successfully exited 2 iconic restaurant brands in New York City. And now he's pouring the same relentless energy into his latest venture, Kreatures of Habit, a business born from the daily habits that transformed his life. We talk about the power of culture, the necessity of innovation, and why mastering simple, repeatable rituals has been the foundation for sustained business growth. If you're a man who wants practical wisdom from somebody who's walked the walk in life and business, this is your episode. Let's dive in.
You are a big optimist. Yeah. As I've been learning about you.
Huge.
Very optimistic. And I think that's actually a good transition to get into business for a little bit here, because I want to talk about Creatures of Habit and what you've built. And, you built 2 really successful restaurant brands in New York. You've since exited both of those. But do both of them still exist? Which is really cool. I've also heard you talk about culture. You've talked about that being a superpower. I really resonated with your thoughts around that versus P&Ls. I tend to operate very similarly in life. And what I want to do is I want to talk about this life that you've built, this business that you've built now. And one of the ways I would like to get into that is the company is called Creatures of Habit. Tell me the story of where habit for you saved your life. And I think it's the story probably of like your road to recovery and meeting the guys at the gym and them giving you a regiment that brought you to life in a way. Is that accurate?
100%.
Can you tell me that story? And then I want to get into, I think it's a beautiful segue into the business.
Yeah. So I'm 23. It's August of 2004. I'm living my worst life. I'm in the deepest, darkest hole of pain, suffering, and hatred of self. I'm using drugs around the clock, as many as I can shove into my system. It didn't matter what it was. I had just overdosed 2 weeks prior to this, so mid-July, and I wanted to die desperately, actually. Like when I cut my wrist when I was 12 years old, I didn't want to die. That was a cry for help. In this stage, in this season of my life, I did want to die. I thought it would be better than living. So I was on a mission to do that. I was too scared to jump out the window, but I thought that if I could do what I liked to do, which was drugs at the time, that was escaping my pain, if I could do that enough, then, it would just end. Anyway, that didn't happen. I kind of blacked out one morning and slept through work because I still held a legitimate job. And I blacked out for 16 hours. And I'd locked myself in my bedroom, blacked out. Anyway, I called my boss and I was like, Frank, I'm sorry, And he was like, come down to the restaurant, Mike. Came down to the restaurant and he was like, I love you, dude. You're like, kind of like a son. You're dying. Everybody knows it. Like everybody looks at you. Everybody knows it. Like how many people need to tap you on the shoulder and let you know? You got to go, Mike. I can't employ you. You're going to die. And I'm going to feel the pain of your death that I couldn't have done something to help. And he probably didn't say it in that sentimental of a way, but it was the gist, right? He was like, you got to go. And my job at that stage of my life was the only thing kind of really tethering me to any semblance of reality in my life, right? Like everything else was mood, mind altering from substance. That was the only thing that was like real. And I begged for my job, begged, please, Frank, don't fire me. It's like everything for me, please. And he was like, look, if you get sober, you can come to the restaurant at 8 o'clock in the morning and you can clean the restaurant with the porters. And if you get sober, if you have a single sip of alcohol, a single drug, I will find out. You're done. But if you get sober, you can do that and keep your job here as a porter, not as a bartender. And he said that, I kind of, when I think about that story, like always the vision for me was like the window just opened up, a gust of air came in, and that was the grace of God. And it just gave me the energy, the courage, the confidence somehow. Definitely didn't have a lot of confidence then, but enough of God's grace in that moment to ask for help. And I called up an old friend. She was sober. She was dating a guy who was sober, who I'd never met before. And she said, wait right there. Got somebody coming to talk to you. And this dude, Marcus, who's still a brother of mine, tight brother, showed up. And he sat down with me. And he didn't say much. But I looked at him, and he was this tough dude, covered in tattoos, shaved head, just my conception of what a sober man was definitely not that. I thought I was going to be stuck in a church basement, fucking, like thumbing the Bible, like that was my vision of sobriety. I just didn't know better. And this guy shows up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's like that's the guy I want to understand what he's doing. He's sober 10 years. Mm-hmm. Like he had a fancy watch on, really great style, just listened to me, looked me in the eye, like heard me. I was like, man, I can do that. I want to impress him. I want him to give me an attaboy. Mm. And so we sat there, and, he listened to me for 4 hours. And, after that 4 hours, he basically said, look, man, I got you. I can help you. You just got to do these things that I'm going to lay down on a piece of paper for you. I'm not going to chase you, but I promise and guarantee that if you follow this plan, your chance of success and happiness and a life beyond anything you can imagine right now, very, very possible. Trust me. And trust was like not something I was like into then, But because this guy was cool, and because I identified with him, I felt like I could like hear him.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, fuck it, what is it? Tell me, And this is what he told me. He was like, this is what I want you to do. I want you to wake up as early as you can in the morning. And as soon as you open up your eyes and know you're awake, I want you to get out of bed immediately. No snooze, no rolling over, none of that shit. Stand up, turn around, and make your bed. Right when you're done making your bed, get into the bathroom, wash your face, brush your teeth, take a piss, put on your contact lenses, and right when you're done with that, get your ass on the floor, knees on the floor, pray to God for help. Now, I don't care if you believe in God, if you don't believe in God, I couldn't care less. All I want you to do is start asking for help in a humble position, because, my man, you need help and you don't know how to ask for it. So starting your day with it is the way I've been taught. Mm-hmm. So on your knees, ask God for help. As soon as you're done with that, do as many push-ups as you can. I don't care if that's 1 or 20 or 30 or 100, as many as you can bang out. Right when you're done with that, get on a pair of sneakers and get outside immediately. I want you to take a walk. Ideally, that walk will turn into a jog. Ideally, that jog will turn into a run. It could be a block. It could be a mile. It could be a fucking marathon. I just want you to move your body in the morning. When you get done with that, I want you to get back upstairs, and I want you to make a big, huge bowl of oatmeal. You can add nuts to it. You can add honey to it, maple syrup, whatever you want to add to it. Make it taste good. Eat a big bowl of oatmeal to satiate you. It's putting positivity into your body. You've been putting negativity into your body for years. This is the first thing that you're going to ingest every day. Make it positive. Make it easy. Oatmeal is a good way to go. Cool. No problem with oatmeal. After you're done with that, get dressed or take a shower, get dressed, and go to the sober community meeting. And he told me exactly which one to go to. And he said, raise your hand, tell them who you are and why you're there, and try to talk to a couple of people. When you're done with that, you're going to come down to the gym. And I was like, what gym? And he was like, Muay Thai. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And he was like, it's a martial art that I've been competing in and doing for many years. And it's going to hurt, and it's going to teach you how to be a man. And I was like, okay, like I can do that. And then he said, right after we train for 2 to 3 hours, I was like, what? He said, I want you to eat chicken and broccoli for lunch. I want you to take a nap. And I was working in the restaurant, you know, and he goes, and then I want you to get to the restaurant and work get to bed as early as you can, but have chicken and broccoli at some point before you go to bed. And then right before you get into bed, I want you to drop down on your knees and say thank you. And that's the plan.
So good.
And that's the plan that I stick to today, all the way
So
through.
good. Really?
Oh yeah, all the way through.
That's so good.
And you know, obviously I've added a bunch of shit to my morning routine, and I've added things to the oatmeal. I built a business about the oatmeal. I don't only have chicken and broccoli, but that system, that structure, that regimen is what gave me a new lease on life.
Yeah.
It was every minute of the day, for the most part, there was something to work on, something to focus on. Always thinking about, you get to this place, you get this done. You get to this place, you get this done. You get to this place, you get this done. And every single time you got something done, the brain just squeaked out some dopamine in a win.
Yeah, that's it.
Little win, oatmeal, win, fitness, win, push-ups, win, prayer, win, AA meeting, win, meet with Marcus, train hard, win, chicken and broccoli, healthy lunch, win, get to work and be on time, win, healthy meal, win, prayer, thank you, win, get to bed early-ish, win, all wins that I can control.
Yeah.
And that's what gave me the path forward, you know.
So good.
Yeah.
And now it's just so cool. It's such a great story. It's such a great story. And how funny that I have your oatmeal like in my pantry. I didn't even realize it until after we had booked the show.
That's so funny.
I literally walked into my pantry. I'm like, wonder if that's
so funny. When you sent that picture, I was like, what?
Yeah, it was so good. Talk to me about developing this product. Talk to me about developing, why this, man? You could have done so many things. I mean, I get the tie-in now, right? Mm-hmm. I love the story and I love where it ended up here, but again, you could have chosen all these different routes. Why this one?
Yeah, so I mean, look, I think what that initial structure gave me was the ability to commit. Right. That's ultimately what it is. And I call this sort of this thing that I learned through Marcus, the 3 C's. It's commit, confidence, and courage. And it goes in that order, right? Like the hardest thing to do is to commit for everyone. Long-term commitment is just, it's just hard. But the beauty of long-term commitment is long-term commitment doing the same thing over and over and over again builds confidence, right? And the more you do it, the more confidence you get. It's not like that well runs dry. It just doesn't. Like the more you do it, the better you get, the more confidence you get. The more you do it, the better you get, the more confidence you get. And with a lot of confidence, and I'm not talking about ego, very different. I'm talking about the ability to feel that you are capable of doing something, doing what you say you're going to do. Not lying to yourself anymore, right? Like when you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, you now believe consciously and subconsciously that you are a liar, right? And nobody likes liars, so you don't like yourself when you don't follow through with commitments. So commitment, confidence, and then ultimately the courage piece, right? And the courage thing, I think, is where I've been lucky, because I learned from Marcus, like, hey, dude, you just do the same thing over and over again. And you're just going to get better and better and better. And then once you start taking swings, it's not going to hurt as bad, because you know that, like, even if you miss, you just get right back on the horse. You're already a committed human. And so I decided after, 4 years of sobriety that I was going to take a risk and open up a business. Like I had that confidence. Like people would ask me when I was doing it. I didn't go to college. People were like, "Aren't you scared to do this thing? Like you're 28. Like, aren't you scared?" And I was just like, "No." Like I'm doing what I think is like the next step, right? Like I feel confident here. And so I opened up a business and it took off like wildfire, dude. It's called the Meatball Shop, little restaurant on the Lower East Side of New York City. we found a publicist that like fell in love with our story, Daniel and my story. We were childhood best friends, you know, and like we worked in restaurants all through high school and all, you know, like we really put in the time in the restaurant world. And Daniel stuck by me through all the years where I was a complete savage in addiction. And when I came out of that, he was still there. He's still my best friend today. And, you know, we were cooking meatballs on Jay Leno, Chelsea Handler, Good Morning America, the Today Show, Jimmy Kimmel, like Jimmy Fallon. Like, I mean, it was insane, dude. They wanted us on TV.
Whose recipe is this?
Daniel's.
Okay.
Yeah. So Dan came up with all the recipes, but you know, we just built this insane thing, and it took off like a rocket ship. And so we opened up 5 more. So we opened up 6 restaurants in 4 years. You know, Dan and I began to butt heads a little bit. I wanted to take some money off the table. They were willing to pay, you know, buy some of my equity. So for the first time in my life, I really had money, you know, like I exited that company well. And I created another restaurant concept less than a year later called Seamore's, and that's a sustainable seafood spot. And I did that one without partners, and I pulled off the exact same thing. I opened it up. It was like New York Magazine, best restaurant in New York for like 9 months, and it was insane. And, you know, we far surpassed our projections, and it was crazy. And I was on TV doing all this shit. I got a TV show out of it. And
What was the show about?
food. It was called Food Porn.
Yeah.
So I traveled around the country. It was under the A&E network, and
That's cool.
And I I was in Austin. I mean, I went to everywhere to try to find like the most hashtagged food porn dishes on social media.
Nice.
And so, you know, I did that, and then and I built that business. I ended up taking on a partner who I knew was a scaling savage. And he had run a company called Le Pen Quotidien, which has thousands of stores. And he fell in love. He was a mentor. He fell in love with the brand. He saw real legs. And I said to him, hey, man, like, I'm a creative guy. 0 to 6 is kind of like what I like to do. You know, if we can get the business, you and I, he came on after I opened up the second restaurant. He said, I said, if we can get the business to 25, 30 million in revenue, I'd love to sell you a bunch of my equity. And you can take it from, you know, 6 to the moon, whatever. And he was like, cool. So in 2019, we had done that. We opened up 6 restaurants, and the business was in a good spot. And I said, all right, man, it's time. Like, I'm ready to, you know, go create again. And that was November of 2019. So it was right before the pandemic. Yeah, dude, I got lucky. So I exited that one, and I had another concept ready to go, right? Like, it's called Kreatures of Habit. And it was gonna be a restaurant, and I knew, it's called Creatures of Habit because I am like, being a creature of habit has been the success in my life.
Yeah,
you know, consistently doing things over and over again, building confidence, taking swings, and so I was like, man, like this. If I could really tell the story of being a creature of habit and wellness, like I could really help people make better decisions because, like, you know, the intimacy that people totally overlook that we have with our food relationship is real, right? Like, food goes into your body. You eat it. It goes into your body, into your system. It metabolizes and makes you who you are, right? And if you put bad stuff in there, I promise you, it might not make you a bad person, but it's not going to make you a happy person. You put good stuff in there, I know for sure, it might not make you a great person, but it's going to make you a happy person, right? And I wanted to help people be happier, and I just know that, like, I witnessed it. I watched it with my father. I watched it with other friends. Like the instant gratification of eating something unhealthy dies off real fast. It's like smoking crack, right? Like it lasts like 5 minutes and then you hate yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and not all the time, right? Like there's nothing wrong with having a bowl of ice cream every once in a while or having a big fat burger and fries. Like I'm all for that. But if that's your routine, I know you go home at night not feeling great about yourself, and I wanted to help people change that. So I said, hey, if I can create a restaurant that, you know, was a really sort of delicious yet healthy restaurant with a vibe. That's the difference, right? Like in New York, there's a lot of healthy restaurants, but they look and smell and feel like healthy restaurants. You walk in, and if you're not a granola eating hippie, you're like, oh, I'm a little out of place here. You know what I mean? Like, there's not places that like just have like great, you know, just normal restaurant energy, like good vibe. Like you want to go on a date there, except we're just not, you know, like the easiest way to win in the restaurant food wise is like you take a steak, you put it on a cast iron, you take a quarter stick of butter, you throw it on top with a little salt, and now you've just added 1,000 calories to the steak, but it's going to taste awesome. You don't need to do that. You just don't need to do that. You can get a steak that's not 1,000 calories, where you're using like the right amount of oil or fat to sear it, and you help people be healthier, right? And so that was what I was trying to create. This restaurant called Kreatures of Habit, and you can come there, and if you were eating, you know, different lifestyles, keto, paleo, plant-based, whatever it is, we would call it out on the menu. And the idea of the restaurant was, I didn't want a scale restaurant anymore. I wanted to have a CPG brand, because I wanted to be able to spend more time with my family and not feel like I needed to be out and about all the time. So we were going to create products in the restaurant to put on the shelf as people were walking in and out. And whatever we saw people grabbing to take home with them, sauces, overnight oats, things like that, granola, like things like that, we would just invest money into and go CPG, because now we have like real life, real time data on what people are gravitating towards, right? It's like a kind of like an incubator.
Hey guys, I want to share something brand new designed for high-performing men like you who want to win at home, not just at work. Our team developed this program over the past 8 years by collecting the best ideas, strategies, and habits from hundreds of men. It's all in one place to give you the best results in the shortest amount of time, because if you're a married man with kids and a business, there is no time to waste. This experience creates deep transformation, not just taking notes and talking about change. It's about doing what matters now so you don't miss the moments when your kids need you the most. These opportunities will come and go very quickly. It's also about building a marriage that shows your kids what real love looks like, creating an environment where they and you thrive. Look, marriage is tough. I've personally walked the line of divorce several times, and without the tools I've gained from this community, I might not be married today. And it's not just about being a great dad or a husband. It's about fulfilling your personal mission, thriving as a man, making an impact through your work, gaining time freedom, financial freedom, traveling the world, and giving to the causes you care about. This program is designed to keep you mentally, physically, and spiritually strong. You do not need to do this alone. Our badass community of intentional fathers are going to help you raise the bar. You're going to learn from each other, hold each other accountable, find your blind spots, and achieve success most dads will never see. It's time to dig deep, gain clarity, and create real change starting now. If you're ready to evolve, visit frontrowdads.com today. We've got limited spots available for this brand new program.
And then the pandemic hit, and the whole plan shit the bed. So I had all the investors lined up. I had the restaurant lined up. Everything was just, I was so excited about this new path forward. But I'm grateful for where we are now. Not grateful for the pandemic. But anyway, pandemic hit. I was ready to sign this lease at the end of February of 2020. And we started hearing weird grumblings about this thing, and I dodged a bullet, man. You know?
I can't even imagine.
Yeah. And this was not a small space. This was like a big swing for me, you know? And I was putting a shit ton of my own dough into it. And so how we doing?
Good.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay. And so the pandemic hit. I had to call off all the investors and just let everybody know, like, all right, well, this is gonna be a big pivot for me. I got to figure out what's next. Like, I knew CPG was like sort of an outcome of the successful restaurant, but I just didn't know shit about CPG. I was gonna learn about CPG from the canvas of the restaurant, right? From the material, from the fabric of the restaurant was going to be my opportunity to understand a little bit more about this totally different business. And so when the pandemic hit and, you know, they like told my 2-year-old and 4-year-old that they were going to go virtual school, I was like, put this kid in front of a computer all day? Like, not happening. Lucky we luckily had a house out of New York City, like about 2.5 hours north. So we packed a bunch of shit. We went to our house upstate, and we were like, we'll just weather the storm here. You know, we'll just
2 weeks, maybe.
yeah, like we'll just this'll
Give me just 2
blow
weeks.
this'll blow over it. You know, it'll probably be a few months, but like we'll it's fine. At least we're able to get outside here.
Yeah,
you know? And that bag just kept getting bigger.
Yep.
You know, it got bigger and bigger and bigger until I looked at my wife and I was like, it's pretty good up here. Like,
Isn't that wild how that happens, man?
oh, dude. So anyway, but within that first 3-4 months of being up there, and a creative process for me in business is, and it's what I did with Meatball Shop, it's what I did with Seamore's. Anytime I need to be inspired, right? People say, "Oh, what inspires you?
Right,
What
right.
motivates? Like, what is your thing?" For me, it is slow, long, silent runs. That's what it is for me.
Yeah.
I intentionally go out with a pen and a pad, no music, no headphones, and I'm just like, all right, I'm going to go until I come up with something. And so I was doing that pretty regularly. And one day I was on a run, and it was in probably June of 2020, and it just showed up. And I was like, dude, you've been eating this oatmeal every single day. It's you can't wait to have it. It's your favorite meal of the day. It's what you've been eating for years. It's got all the good shit in it. If you can figure out a way to get your oatmeal concoction plus your supplements, which, you know, my supplement stack for years was a probiotic, digestive enzymes, vitamin D3, and omega-3 fatty acids. So I would have my oatmeal every morning, have my supplements, and that's kind of how I kick off my day nutritionally. And I was like, man, if you can figure out a way to get all that shit into a pouch so that it's easy for people to just dump and go, dude, like that is an authentic to you business that is totally aligned with your passion for wellness, that is totally aligned with your story. Like, not only will you have a business that, you know, you think could potentially be something awesome, like financially, but it's going to give you an opportunity to really tell your story. Because look, let's face it, like the recovery story from a restaurateur doesn't resonate as much as a recovery story for a CPG wellness brand founder, right? I was always hesitant to tell my story in recovery as a restaurateur because I didn't want to make people in my company, and I didn't want to make like just other people feel.
And you had a mentor advising you against it too.
I did. Super big time guy, you know? So that was it. I got home from that run. I told my wife, I'm going into oatmeal. She was like, what is wrong with you? And I was just like, look, Donna, like I feel something here. You know, I feel something here. And
Was she like, why don't we just retire? Can we just like hang out on the...
no, it wasn't, I did well with the restaurants and the exits, but nowhere near where I'm going.
Your target, yeah.
Yeah, nowhere near where I'm going. And so I just said, you gotta have faith here, you know, in me. Like, she was like, of course I do. I support, do what you want to do, but I think it's nuts. You know, you've got 12 restaurants in New York City right now. Like, you're gonna go like put oatmeal into a pouch and try to sling oatmeal. And I was like, yeah. Like it's meaningful to me.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult to sell a habit, right? So like the formula is, it's gluten and glyphosate free oats. It's 30 grams of plant-based protein. It's got chia seeds, flax seeds, and pumpkin seeds. That's how we get the omegas. It's got vitamin D3. It's got a probiotic, digestive enzymes. It's got pink Himalayan salt for electrolytes. And it's made overnight. And it takes 30 seconds to make. And it's a full meal. And it's such an easy win, right? And I was, because habits have saved my life. They almost killed me. I flipped the switch on the habit game. And when I was able to change my habits from being really bad to really good, everything in my life changed. And it really did start from this early morning commitment to like little wins. And oatmeal was a big part of that for me. Like, I needed to sink my teeth into something that made me feel good, not that like made me feel like I was hiding from life. Marcus probably had no idea that what he was doing for me by telling me to do that, but like that was it for me. It was like that win. Like, I enjoyed it, you know. And so I kind of thought to myself, hey man, like I've been so good at waking up early, so good at going to the gym, so good at going to bed early, so good at like meditation and prayer and, you know, you can't sell those things. Like you can't package that, right? Like you can be a coach and try to help people believe in themselves enough to want to do those things and like unpack some of their damage so that they can, you know, and I've certainly invested in coaches and I've certainly coached before, but it's very, very difficult to sell a habit that people can rely on as a win.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this has been such a winning habit for me. If I can package this, I can sell it.
Yeah.
And give people a very accessible, inexpensive win to implement into their day as like a springboard to like, you know, great decisions make great decisions. You know, I believe that, right? Like you got to start with one, you know what I mean? And so that's what I did, man. I put a bunch of cash into a bank account. I spent a year working on the formula. I got it to a place where I felt it was great. We've iterated now over 3 times, so we're on our 4th version of Meal 1. It's called Meal 1. But I pitched it to Gary Vaynerchuk, and Gary was like, and I created this like cool apparel, like capsule brand, like capsule line to go with it. And he kind of was like, where do I sign? And I was like, what? I got Gary as my first investor.
Oh yeah,
you know?
dude.
And so he wrote a check, and you know we launched it. And we're a little over 3 years in. We have thousands of subscribers. You know, I call customers every day. That's a big part.
I think that's so cool that you do that.
It's a big part of what I think my job is here. You know, again, like we said it earlier, like, you know, P&L shit is just not my strong suit. And, you know, and it's so important, of course. But, you know, if you asked me to do it, I would kind of look at you like, I'm the wrong guy. You know, like if you forced me with a gun to my head, I would do it.
Yeah.
But it will take me, what takes my CFO 20 minutes would take me 20 hours,
Yeah.
you know. So I've really, I've stuck in my lane, and my job is to build community, inspire and innovate creatively at the company, constantly be innovating, throwing ideas at the team. And I have so much respect and trust in the team of people that I've surrounded myself with. They only want to do 10% of the ideas that I propose. But I'm totally cool with that. You know, like I have found that, and I can just tell you from experience, you know, I was that for Meatball Shop and Seamore's too. I was the guy that was like constantly building community, constantly innovating and creating and proposing ideas. And though, again, like those ideas can ruffle feathers, those ideas can shake people up, those ideas require work from everyone, right? But if there's not somebody constantly proposing those ideas, innovation dies at your business.
Yeah.
And you need innovation, right? It needs to be like, you know, with business, you're telling a story, right? In good business anyway, right? Now, if somebody's read the book of your business, right, and they've gotten to the end, and there's not like a second book and a third book and a fourth book, they've gotten to the end of the book. It's over, right? Like you've got to give them something to open up again. You want them to be like, oh, wait a second, there's a new thing here. Mm-hmm. Oh, there's a new feeling here. Oh, there's a new initiative here. Oh, there's a new way to engage here. Oh, there's a new charitable effort here. Oh, and you know, like I kind of think of business that way. You know what I mean? It's a book, man. People want to feel like they're being told a story, you know? And so, yeah, my role at the company as the CEO currently right now is to make sure that there's money to spend.
Yep.
And I speak to as many people that are in the community as possible. I am in charge of R&D and product innovation. I'm in charge of all creative innovation. And I've got thick skin when the team is like, dude, no. I'm like, oh, fuck it. You know? I've gotten way better at receiving no, you know? But, you know, that's kind of like, that's where we're at, man. Yeah. And you know, we make a sleep product too that's really amazing. It's a sleep support hot chocolate. I wanted to, you know, I think my a lot of what I've been talking about in this podcast has to do with what time you go to bed at night. You know, like I think a go to bed alarm is so much more important than a wake up in the morning alarm.
Yeah.
Because if you can set a go to bed alarm, you're not going to have a problem waking up in the morning. You set a go to bed alarm. It's like it's that little switch is game changing.
Game
You know,
changer,
you
yeah.
put an alarm in your phone, boom, commit to it. 9:30, no matter what we're doing.
Yep.
Unless it's like unbelievably passionate sex, you shut it down and you go to bed. You know.
Sorry, babe.
Yeah, so that's 9:30. That's it. Wrap it up. But I think the go to bed alarm is very, very powerful.
Yeah.
You know, and so the sleep support was something that I thought was like a great way to cue.
Yeah.
Hey, like it's time to wind down. You know, sleep for me is like, and now because I pay so much attention to my health and my blood work, and I'm really focused on my blood glucose levels these days. I'm doing this crazy gut cleanse. And so they're making me, this coach that I'm working with is making me check my blood glucose levels. And what I found about blood glucose, which ultimately really does kind of dictate your mood and your performance a lot of the time, is so deeply connected to how well you've slept.
Big time.
You know, it's crazy.
Yep.
Like you could be in pre-diabetic glucose levels and not be pre-diabetic, but just got poor sleep, you know? And so your body can conduct like someone who needs a shot of insulin if you get poor sleep. I had no idea.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm learning this shit. So sleep is really important. So we created this product called Creatures Sleep, and it's a sleep support hot chocolate. It tastes like Swiss Miss. It's only sweetened with monk fruit. It's fucking bomb. It's got a bunch of great ingredients that help you relax, fall, and stay asleep naturally. No melatonin. And it's kind of like a system, you know. You start your day with meal one, you finish your day with Creature Sleep, and you know we'll have one or two more products that we'll introduce over the next 3 years. And the goal for me is to build this thing and build an amazing community. And then in 2028, you know, I've got to kind of target Q3, Q4, 2028, bring on a strategic to acquire it and help me really build a big community with it. You know, yeah.
Dude, thank you for showing up today, man, and talking about fatherhood, talking about marriage, talking about business, my 3 favorite things to talk about, and all rooted in who you are, you know, rooted in the story of who you've been through this process. We kind of started this talking about taking care of yourself. You know, that's where the journey began for us today. And we're wrapping talking about taking care of yourself, which is really cool. And so my hope and my wish first for you, man, is that my wish for you and your family is that you can continue to take care of yourself in such a way that allows for you to take care of your family in the most epic way. I hope that if there is a award for best dad in the universe, that you're up for it. I think you're working at it. And also, man, thanks for showing up for the Front Row Dads today. And some of those little things, like I mentioned at the beginning, just the fact that you don't leave the dinner table for a little bit. Those stories are going to be so impactful. I know for me as a dad, meeting other great men, other great fathers, people that are putting in the work, trying to make it happen. You know, I have taken so much from each of them. You know, I don't want to be them, but I'd love to learn from them. I'd love to take a little habit here and a little habit there and copy it and paste it into the Vroman house, maybe with a little edit and a little customization to make it my own. But I really appreciate that. My hope also is that people will continue to follow your story. They will cheer you on from the Front Row Dad world. I hope that there are other ways that we can continue to align, and that I hope that we can continue to support you in various ways. My brain is buzzing. We're at time. We can't keep going, but I have 50 ways that I can think about how our community can support you and how your work will support our community. And to me, that's where I get energized. I want to build bridges. I want to recognize the bridges that have already been built. And like you, man, I'm committed to building community. So thank you, man, for leaning in today. Thanks for saying yes to this show. And Creatures of Habit, I hope people go check it out. And if they want to have some oatmeal with me, just come to my kitchen.
I thought it would be cool to give the community a code if they wanted to try.
Yeah.
We created a code Front Row 20, so 20% off for the web's site wide. And I guess I just wanted to say one last thing that I think is important, because I think parenting definitely does come from great parenting. At least in my experience, does come from a great relationship with your spouse. I think it really does start there, right? Like if there's a lot of tension with the spouse, it's hard for the relationship to not sort of bleed onto the parenting side of it, right? And so the things like staying at the dinner table is a great one, but I just want to say that there are two things that I think have really been like the sort of cornerstone of our success in relationship, and one of them was told to us right before we got married by the pastor. And she said, if there's one thing after spending a little time with you guys that I want to instill in the two of you, if you can commit to me, don't go to bed angry at each other. Don't go to bed angry at each other. That's something that we've committed to. We fucked up a couple of times in our relationship, but for the most part, like, that is a commitment that we've made. If we are going to get into a fight, and we do, we look at each other and we're like, we have to bury the hatchet before it's bedtime. Like, we will not go to bed angry, because that residual anger is far more potent than the anger that you go to bed with. The other thing is, again, I briefly mentioned it, but I do think for men to hear this idea that, like, that upfront, in your face communication, even if it's you want to sleep with another woman, which is so crazy, right? To think that you would say that to your spouse, it's a lot better than doing it and getting caught.
Yeah.
You know? So I just wanted to finish.
Or doing it and not getting caught.
Or doing it and not getting caught, and having to live.
That's right.
With that, like, ick, you know? Yeah, man, I'm so grateful that you brought me on the show. I feel so connected to you, and like, I love being able to be around men, and I wish I had more men in my life. You know, I listened to that. I know we have to go, but I listened to the episode with the No More Mr. Nice Guy dude, and I love that book. That book is a great book. I always recommend that book to dudes. I'm just putting it out there. Like, I would love to have more men in my life.
Yeah.
You know, and so maybe that's a way that we jam.
Make it happen. Yeah. All right, brother. Thank you so much, man. This has been great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening today, fellas. If you got value from this episode, I ask that you take 1 second right now and you share this with another dad in your life that you respect, that you know is committed to becoming a better man, family man, and businessman. And on that note, I want to honor you for choosing growth. Your family will thank you years from now for all the effort that you're putting in to learn the strategy so you can show up more fully for them today. Take care.